Imagine dedicating your entire life, against all odds, to a mission so profound it would echo through centuries and touch the highest offices of a global faith. How do you go from a common priest to having your ideas shape the spiritual journey of millions, including multiple popes? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the extraordinary life of Louis-Marie Grignion de Montfort, a French Catholic priest whose tireless devotion and groundbreaking writings carved out a unique and lasting place in religious history. Born in a time of great upheaval, Montfort's spiritual insights and missionary zeal would not only found new religious communities, but would also redefine Catholic devotion to Mary, the Mother of Jesus, in ways that continue to influence believers worldwide. From his challenging early life to his enduring legacy, Montfort's story is one of unwavering faith, relentless work, and an unexpected impact that transformed Catholicism. Louis-Marie Grignion de Montfort entered the world in 1673 in a small French town, the eldest survivor of a massive family of 18 children. His father was a notary, which meant a life of relative stability, but young Louis spent much of his early years on a farm, far from the hustle and bustle. At just 12 years old, his path took a turn towards the academic, joining the Jesuit College of St. Thomas Becket in Rennes. It was here, during his studies, that a local priest, Abbé Julien Bellier, would spark a fire within him. Bellier's stories of life as a traveling missionary, bringing faith to the poor, deeply moved Montfort. More than that, Bellier was passionate about a practice known as consecration to Mary, and under his guidance, Montfort's own deep devotion to the Blessed Virgin began to blossom. The path to priesthood was anything but smooth. Through the generosity of a benefactor, Montfort had the chance to study in Paris at the famed seminary of Saint-Sulpice in late 1693. But when he arrived, he found himself without the promised funds, forcing him to live among the city's poorest in boarding houses while attending lectures at the Sorbonne. This challenging period took its toll, leading to a severe illness that landed him in the hospital. He survived, thankfully, despite the rather crude medical practices of the day, like bloodletting. Once recovered, he was surprised to find his spot at the little St. Sulpice Seminary still waiting for him. There, he became the seminary's librarian, a role that became a hidden blessing. It gave him unrestricted access to countless works on spirituality, allowing him to dive deep into understanding Mary's role in Christian life. This intensive study would eventually lead to his renowned work, The Secret of the Rosary. Montfort's spiritual interests weren't limited to Mary. Even as a seminarian, he had a unique connection to angels. He encouraged his fellow students to treat their guardian angels with respect and affection, and he often ended his letters with a greeting to the guardian angel of the person he was writing to. When he arrived in a new town like Nantes, he would make a point of saluting all the angels of that city. This deep veneration for angels wasn't just a personal quirk. It was part of his rigorous Jesuit and Sulpician training, which heavily emphasized the role of these pure spirits. Ordained a priest in 1700, Montfort's heart yearned for foreign missions, specifically the new French colony of Canada. However, his spiritual advisor steered him away from that path, leaving him feeling frustrated by the lack of opportunities to preach as he felt called. His desire to preach the Rosary and form Rosary confraternities led him to join the Third Order of St. Dominic. This period also saw him begin to imagine a small group of priests dedicated to missions and retreats under Mary's protection, an idea that would eventually become the Company of Mary. Around this time, as France faced growing economic struggles, Montfort took on the role of chaplain at a hospital in Nantes. It was there that he met Marie-Louise Trichet, a meeting that marked the start of her 34 years of dedicated service to the poor. Still feeling the pull of missionary work, Montfort embarked on a pilgrimage to Rome to seek counsel from Pope Clement XI. The Pope recognized Montfort's true calling and, instead of sending him abroad, sent him back to France with the title of Apostolic Missionary, assuring him there was plenty of work to be done in his own country. On his return, Montfort retreated to Mont Saint-Michel, praying to Archangel Michael for strength to win souls for God, strengthen existing faith, and combat sin. These moments of solitude were crucial for him to reflect, contemplate, and write. For several years, Montfort traversed France, preaching missions from Brittany to Nantes. His reputation grew, earning him the affectionate title, the Good Father from Montfort. At Pontchâteau, he rallied hundreds to help him build a massive Calvary. But just as it was to be blessed, a bishop, under pressure from the king and influenced by the Jansenist school of thought, forbade its consecration. Montfort's reported response to this crushing news? A simple, "Blessed be God." This speaks volumes about his humility and unwavering trust. His final years were nothing short of a whirlwind. He left Nantes and spent years preaching missions, constantly on the move, walking from one town to the next. Yet amidst this intense schedule, he managed to write his most influential works, True Devotion to Mary, The Secret of Mary, and The Secret of the Rosary, alongside rules for his nascent communities and countless hymns. His missions had a profound effect, particularly in the Vendée region. His passionate preaching style, though effective, was sometimes seen as unusual, and he even suffered an attempt on his life through poisoning. While not fatal, it severely damaged his health. Still, he pressed on, undeterred, continuing to preach and establish free schools for impoverished boys and girls. One of his most enduring legacies came through the Daughters of Wisdom. Impressed by Montfort, the Bishop of La Rochelle invited him to open a school. Montfort called upon Marie-Louise Trichet, who was then managing a hospital. In 1715, Marie-Louise and Catherine Brunet moved to La Rochelle, opening a school that quickly enrolled 400 students. That same year, Trichet, Brunet, and 2 other women made their religious vows under Montfort's direction. He told them, "Call yourselves the Daughters of Wisdom for the teaching of children and the care of the poor." This order grew into an international organization, a testament to his vision, and is a key reason for his statue gracing St. Peter's Basilica. Montfort's 16 years as a priest included significant periods of solitude, often spending months, sometimes even years, in quiet reflection in places like the Cave of Mervent or the Hermitage of St. Lazarus. Worn out by relentless work and illness, he arrived in St. Laurent-sur-Sèvre in April 1716 for what would be his final mission. He fell ill and died on April 28th, just 43 years old, having been a priest for a mere 16 years. His last sermon focused on the tender love of Jesus and the incarnate wisdom of God. Thousands gathered for his burial, and stories of miracles at his tomb soon followed. Exactly 43 years later, to the day, Marie-Louise Trichet died and was buried beside him. Pope John Paul II would later visit their adjacent tombs to pray. At the heart of Montfort's spirituality was his simple yet profound motto, "God alone," a phrase repeated over 150 times in his writings. He viewed the incarnation of Jesus as the absolute center of reality, and his devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary, fidelity to the cross, and fierce missionary zeal were all rooted in this central belief. His most revolutionary idea was total consecration to Jesus through Mary. For Montfort, Jesus and Mary were inseparable. He believed that Mary, being the creature most perfectly conformed to Jesus, offered the safest, easiest, shortest, and most perfect way to approach Jesus. His total consecration involved 7 elements: understanding one's unworthiness, sharing Mary's faith, pure love, unlimited trust in God and Mary, communication of Mary's spirit, becoming more like Jesus, and bringing greater glory to Christ. This was not merely an internal prayer, but also involved external practices like joining Marian societies or performing acts of charity in Mary's honor. Montfort's influence stretched far beyond his lifetime. Pope Pius IX considered his form of Marian devotion the best. Pope Leo XIII not only granted indulgences for practicing Montfort's consecration, but also beatified him in 1888. Pope Pius X recognized Montfort's impact on his own encyclical. Pope Pius XI stated he had practiced Montfort's methods since his youth. Pope Pius XII declared him a saint and called him the guide who leads you to Mary and from Mary to Jesus. Perhaps most famously, Pope John Paul II recalled how, as a young seminarian, he read and reread many times and with great spiritual profit Montfort's work, leading him to adopt his personal motto, Totus Tuus, totally yours, referring to Mary. Montfort's ideas profoundly shaped John Paul II's own Marian spirituality, making him a cornerstone of modern Catholic thought. From his humble beginnings and a life filled with challenges, Louis-Marie Grignion de Montfort's unwavering faith and deep spiritual insights continue to resonate. He was a man who, against all odds, left an indelible mark on the Catholic Church, transforming how millions understand their relationship with God through Mary, and inspiring generations of popes along the way. To dive deeper into the lives of other influential saints, check out our next video.